let's look at why the natives are siding with the eugenicists, shall we? If one truly looks at religion, right, you're forced to that conclusion. Black people were here first. God gave them the dominion. God made the covenant with them, and so on, right? And with everything else I've been saying recently, you see how it plays out exactly like that. The message to every martial artist, the message in the Bible is clear and it's repetitive. Okay? Africa versus Babylon. Egyptians push these Babylonians. They flee to Asia. They flee to Europe. They flee to, America over the ice bridges. Okay? It's a recurring theme for thousands and thousands of years. And then finally, as mankind starts understanding this war going on different levels, as they start evolving their understanding and who's siding with who, and clearly defining who's the enemies of God and who aren't, So for them, these small, kind of feeble, shallow, people, materialistic people to then turn around and say, hey, we were here first, right? You see how shallow that is? You see how full of hypocrisy it is? Did God come down and say, hey, North and South America, are for these people? Or did he say, I give the earth to the black man and I give him the superior mind, body, and soul to make sure no one ever mistakes that? I mean, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. We were here first, not you. So how does the eugenicists and every other race incrementally plan to address this argument? Well, they're relying on pseudoscience, eugenics, psychiatry, and technology. They said, look, we have vested interests, in keeping the black man down. We're the rich class, they're the poor class, and there's a few Uncle Toms who aren't going to stop us. We've allowed to make money. So we're going to do what the Europeans did in Africa. We're going to divide what is rightfully the black man's, okay? And this, of course, is the story in the Bible, right? About how the black man rises up and God takes his side naturally, one way or another, Jesus on the cloud could symbolize a black man in his natural glory, restoring the Mayat. And it has to be that. Afro Asiatic. If the Christ is anything but Afro Asiatic, ritual shows clearly that he must be the Antichrist. That's why the person on the cross must be an Antichrist. Think about it, okay? The ritual has to be correct. Jesus said, my water, my blood, my body. What is Mass about? What is communion? What is the last dinner, the last meal, excuse me? When Judas touched the bread when he wasn't supposed to, right? Or at the same time. He's where whoever touches is next, right? What is that symbolic of? This is the body of Africa. You keep your traitor, devil hands off that which is sacred. The land, the people. Look at the temple, the pyramid text. Look at the story of the Jews. God says, you are my people. Horus says, you are my people. Okay? We are the children of God, given dominion over the world. That's why they can't beat me at martial arts. That's why they had to rely on forbidden knowledge. Like technology that destroys the earth. Forbidden knowledge to attempt to become greater than you are supposed to be. And that is why this devil, this insignificant, illegitimate caucasoid, needs to be put in his place with every other non-black snake trying to usurp the Pharaoh. All right. What is halfway between a Eurasian and a dark Nubian? But you're looking at him, right? Someone like me with variations of hair, depending on the genes of the Africans who had mixed with the Semites. So, okay, I want you all to understand something. The history of Egypt shows the history of race mixing. Do any of you doubt that people rape in war and that women are taken as part of the spoils? Do any of you doubt that? So we know that the Semites we have today are not the same racial mix as the Semites we had 2,000 years ago. I think that is straightforward. Okay, after the Arabs invaded, are you kidding me? And swept across North Africa like a plague, they look a lot less, black now. Not to mention the British. Let's not forget the Romans and the Greeks had already, colonized Egypt in the foreign period. Let's not forget that. So we know that war changes the genetic makeup of a population. Look at the Native Americans. How many of them are pure and how many of them are mixed with the people who colonized them? Okay, so we all agree on that. No question. Okay, let's start there. Common sense, mainstream history. Let's start there. So the Egyptians were Nubian Necanites. They came from southern Egypt, which made it 100% clear And nobody in the ancient world missed the significance of that. Nobody. This is something that, white trash and trailers who use their Masonic network to get a degree think, not actual historians and scholars. Okay? Anyway, so they invade, they unite, okay? Until the 15th dynasty of Egypt, blacks were making everyone pay tribute in the form of money and women and slaves and cattle, and there's pictures of that. There's no question about that. You see a bunch of women worshiping the pharaoh. You see a bunch of Nubians and other races and the Syrians and stuff giving cattle and bringing goods to Egypt. You see Ishmaelites, on camel caravans bringing goods to Egypt. Ever heard of human trafficking, you fucking moron? Ever heard of the Arab slave trade, you fucking moron? You think they're the first ones that did it? Look at the pyramid text. Pharaoh has slaves, okay? And just like the white man had sex with his slaves, Pharaoh saw a bunch of sexy, feeble little people from other races and said, I'm going to put my big black dick in you, okay? And that's what turned out, that's how Israel came about. That's why it's the house of bread, the body of the black people who united Egypt, okay? The royal pharaohs who united Egypt. The people who had the most sex with women were the royalty, right? So the Israelites are the royal, bastard children of the Pharaoh, okay? Look at Moses, right? The story of Moses. What is Moses' story symbolic of? The shared life of the Jews and the Egyptians, okay? Moses was the illegitimate, family member of the Egyptians, and the legitimate one was the black people, right? You follow me? Right, so, therefore, Jesus of Nazareth was Afro Asiatic. Okay, he looked like an Egyptian. That's why he hid in Egypt. Okay? Now, there was Romans posted in Egypt, and then there was indigenous people. Do you think he hid with the Romans who were later on going to crucify him? Or did he hide with the Afro Asiatic people that looked the same as him? I mean, come on, people. Really? Really? Jesus is not fucking white. And if you worship a white man, when Babylon went to Europe, you are a fucking antichrist. I don't care what you have to say about it. I want you all to look me in the eyes and tell me that when you walk in the light and you carry on about how you're a man of the light, that you're going to be pale and look sickly, like someone who hid from the light in a cave. Okay? When they left Africa, they also left the light. That's why their temple is the night, because the light is in its glory the most in Africa and Israel, right? So when you leave and you go to the colder terrain, okay? So there's different levels. You have to look at the Bible from an Egyptian perspective. The Jews communicated with Egyptians, not with Englishmen, with Egyptians. When you look at it from a Western Masonic perspective, you are lost, I promise you. When you look at it from an African, humble, mind, body, soul connection, you look at it many ways as once, right? Let me give you one example. I'll leave it there. When Jesus broke the bread and the wine, why didn't he just say, look, why didn't you just explain to him? Why did he take the bread and the wine? Why did Jesus come here and get crucified? Why didn't he just explain it to him? Because there's a ritual, and this goes back to the beginning of time when God gave man, the black man, dominion over the earth. And the story of the Bible is the story of the black man who mixed with the Semite, okay, in Israel. Okay, that's why the Ethiopians are black and Semitic to the day. Amos 9:7. It is the story of the black man who mixed with the Semite, and how he wants to take his rightful natural place, and how people who use pagan occult thinking, okay, Babylonian thinking. Where are the evil places in the Bible? And where is the place God had to harden his heart? God had to harden Pharaoh's heart, okay? God didn't do that with the Babylonians. They did that evil shit themselves. God didn't put that in their heart. Show me in the Bible where it says God hardened the Babylonians' heart. No, they went out of their way to say God hardened Pharaoh's heart. And Moses was Pharaoh's family. And Moses was trained in Egyptian mysteries. And Joshua went to Egypt. He didn't go to England. He went to Egypt and shared with the African knowledge, not the Babylonians who had migrated to England, Greece, and other places. And where is the temple of Satan in the Bible? Paragonum, right? I know, and I believe that's in Turkey. Remember, Greece used to occupy Turkey. I know where you have your temple, Satan. And what is it, right? It's the temple of Zeus or something, right? It's a white pagan perspective on religion that emphasizes certain characteristics which are satanic, which led them to crucify Christ because of their pagan perspective mixed with the children of Satan influencing them. Just like the temple of Set, right, influenced the satanic people to take over, right? Just like they collaborated with people who think like them because you want people who think like you to win. Think about Democrats around the world, right? Who are they going to collaborate if they're going to collaborate with someone in Greece, right? It's the same thing. Who did the Temple of Set collaborate? In fact, Democrats come from the Age of Enlightenment, which comes from Freemasonry, which comes from the Temple of Set. Try to keep up now. That's what Star Wars is about, you know? It's about a Rothschild from the Temple of Set and all of his devil allies that he can recruit. Okay? It's about Western philosophy versus African philosophy. That's why it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Obi is Igbo backwards, and these are esoterics. They don't start it in Japan, genius. They started in Africa. They believe in the true meaning of something. So not only am I right, on the top level of Masonry, those who are white know that I am right. The story of Africa, the story of the Bible is the story of the struggle between the African philosophy, the African dialects, the African culture, the African religion, and the Babylonian one. Okay? This Afro Asiatic religion, the Hebrew, Afro Asiatic dialect, Israel, right by Egypt. Okay, you think they weren't fucking the shit out of the fucking Canaanites and all them? You know? Really? You think they weren't fucking the shit out of the Jews? Oh, we let Moses in, you know. What did Pharaoh say to Abraham? He didn't say, your bitch is a Jew. I cannot fuck her. He said, she is married to you. I cannot fuck her. I rest my case. You bitch.